Welcome back to the Bad Influence Podcast, where we show you why it's important to never call someone bad, selfish, or toxic without knowing their story. I'm the bad influence that you need in your life, Bjordan Banderas. So, when was the last time you called someone bad, selfish, or toxic? Maybe it was the driver who cut you off, the worker who missed a deadline, or even a family member who hurt your feelings. Now, let me hit you with the truth. It's easy to call someone bad, toxic, put a label on them. It's so easy. But when was the last time you stopped to ask why they acted the way they did? The problem that I have observed for a while, and I have done a lot of research on this, there's neuroscience, there's psychological science behind this and research behind this. The problem is that we live in a world that's quick to judge. A world where labeling someone as bad, toxic, or unworthy is second nature. It's so easy to do it. We sometimes just do it without even thinking about the consequences for that person. But here's the thing. Labeling someone doesn't solve anything. It doesn't solve shit. If anything, it stops us from digging deeper, from understanding, and from building bridges, which in today's day and age, it's something that we need. We need to start building bridges, not tearing them down, because in the end, we live in a society that depends on each other, if you think about it. You see, asking why someone did what they did takes effort. That's why people don't want to do it. It also takes empathy. And a lot of people don't even know how to be empathetic to themselves. And let's be real. Most people are not willing to put in that work. They don't want to do it because they don't want to understand. There's so many things that happens if you start asking those type of questions. If you try to figure out why that person is the way that they are. But if you're not asking this, you're missing out on a chance to truly connect, to truly understand, and maybe to even heal. So today, we're going to talk about why it's easier to judge than to ask, and how flipping that mindset can change your relationships, your outlook, and maybe even your life. So stick with me because this one is going to get real. So here's the problem. Based on the neuroscience, based on the psychological research, we're wired to judge. Because it's a survival mechanism. Back in the caveman days, if you saw someone from another tribe, you had to decide quickly, is this a friend or a foe? Is he going to help me or is he going to kill me? You only had those options back then. But now, that has become a problem because that instinct to label people as good or bad, it's ancient. But here's the thing. It doesn't serve us in modern life. It doesn't at all. Sometimes we put labels on the wrong people, and these are the same people that can actually help us become better, learn something new, and get to the next level. Think about it. How many times have you labeled someone without knowing their full story? Maybe you call someone selfish for canceling plans, like a date or something like that, but you didn't know they were dealing with anxiety, which it happens. Or you judge a coworker for being late, not realizing they were up all night with a sick child. When we judge, are about them, how they feel, how they think, everything that has happened with them and to them. So it has nothing to do with you probably like 99% of the time. And here's the thing. When you ask what's going on, you're not helping them. You're helping yourself as well. Because understanding others helps you let go of resentment, builds stronger relationships, and approach life with a sense of curiosity instead of judgment. But let's be real. Asking these questions is not easy because it requires vulnerability, it requires patience, and it requires you to put your fucking ego aside, which, let's face it, it's not always fun and it's scary. Sometimes we avoid asking this because we're afraid of what we'll find. What if the reason challenges our perspective? What if it forces us to confront our own biases? I know, right? That's why a lot of people prefer to judge, to label people without understanding, because they don't want to be confronted with their own thoughts, with their own biases. They don't want to be confronted by that. Nobody likes that. It's hard. It doesn't feel good. It makes you feel anxious. So it's easier to stick with our assumptions than to dig deeper. We also avoid asking these questions because it takes time. In a world that's all about instant gratification, slowing down to understand someone feels like a luxury. Let's be honest, it does. It truly does. Because let's just say you're at work or somewhere, you're kind of in a hurry. Someone is acting up. Someone is having a tantrum, throwing a tantrum, doing something. And you're like, shit, that person must be going through something. And you ask them, hey, what's going on? And if they decide to open up, they're going to literally tell you everything. But now, you need to pay attention. You need to listen to that person. So that's going to take you away from whatever you want to do. It's going to take your time. It's going to literally have you stand there or sit there with that person so you can understand them. A lot of people don't want to do that because all of that takes time. And time, for some reason, it feels like we don't have enough. And it's true. A lot of people don't feel like they have enough time to even conversate with others. But let me tell you something. There's nothing more valuable than taking the time to truly see someone. And here's the truth. The more we avoid asking why is this person acting this way or what's going on, the more disconnected we become. If you look at what has happened in the last 4, 5 years, maybe 6 years, even more, we have become more disconnected. We have become a very disconnected society. And sure, we have social media, which is supposed to bring us together. But in a lot of cases, it's not doing that. It's doing the complete opposite. So we end up living in a world where everyone's judging and no one's understanding if we keep doing this. And pretty much we're already in that world. And that's a world that it's going to make us, all of us, suffer. Because we're not going to feel hurt, we're not going to feel understood, and we're going to become more lonely. We're going to feel more alone and more and more. And sometimes that builds resentment, which, for what I have seen, and you can see it in the news, you can see it on social media, a lot of people are carrying resentment towards others because they don't pay attention to them. So, how do you make the shift from judging to understanding? This is very important. These are the steps that help me, and I know that if you take take these steps into your life, it can help you. Step 1, pause. The next time you're about to label someone, stop and ask yourself, What don't I know about this situation? Because 100% of the time, you don't know shit. You don't know what's going on in their house. You don't know what the fuck they're thinking. You don't know anything about them. And that pause can be a game changer. Because that's when it lets you ask the right questions. Like, hey, what's going on? I see that you're more quiet than ever before. What's going on? I want to check up. I want to check on you. Shit like that. You're more angry than ever. What's going on? Stuff like that. Step 2, get curious. Instead of assuming, ask the questions. What's going on with you? Is there something you want to talk about? These questions show that you care and they open the door to deeper conversations. Step 3, listen without judgment. When someone opens up to you, resist the urge to fix, critique, or offer advice. Just shut the hell up and listen. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just listen and let them feel heard. That's all they need. And if you do that, they're going to literally be more calm. They're going to be able to talk to you like a person. And it actually feels good when you do this. Step 4, reflect. After you've listened to them, take a moment to reflect on what they shared. How does their story change your perspective? What can you learn from their experience? And step 5, practice empathy. Remember, empathy doesn't mean you agree with everything someone does. No, it doesn't. It means you're willing to understand where they're coming from, which is important. Again, this is what we need in today's society, and that understanding can be the foundation for real connection. By asking why, you're not just helping others, you're helping yourself grow. You're learning to see the world through a lens of compassion instead of judgment. And that's a powerful way to live. When you start asking these questions, you create a ripple effect. Your empathy inspires others to be more empathetic. Your willingness to understand encourages others to do the same, which it's great. When you start seeing that, you're like, damn, I should have started this a long time ago, because then you start creating a circle of people that can open up to you and you can open up to them, and then you start making good friends. You start having like a support group and things like that. And slowly but surely, you help create a world where people feel seen and valued, which is what we need right now. So think about the relationships in your life. How many of them could be transformed if you start asking what's wrong? How many conflicts could be resolved? How much deeper could your relationships and connections go? Those are good questions. If you decide to take these steps into your life, to literally do this, ask yourself these questions. Because asking this isn't just about understanding others. It's about building a life filled with meaning, connection, and growth. And that's a life worth striving for. Don't you think? I think so. I sure as hell think so. So here's my challenge for you. The next time you're tempted to label someone, stop and ask why. Get curious, dig deeper, and watch how your relationships and your perspective start to change. Because, again, this is what we need. This is what people need, especially if you're feeling lonely. If you feel like you're alone and nobody is asking you these questions, then take the time to ask those questions to someone else. Because when you do that, and this is pretty much what happened with me, my wife started asking me that. And then I started asking her those questions, and that's how we have been able to build a relationship that is so fucking solid that nothing can shake it. Because she helped me feel seen, and I help her feel seen and heard. Same thing with me. And you can do that with someone. You can start by asking these questions. And then that person might start asking you those same questions. And then the connection is formed. You start making friends. You don't feel alone. You learn new things from this person. And that's important. Because now you're going to have someone on your corner. And that's what I want you to have. Someone in your corner. Just like I do. Just like I do. And that's my wife for me. For you, it can be a friend, it can be your wife, it can be your girlfriend, it can be whoever. But start asking these questions. Start asking this. And see how you start moving up in life because of the connections that you start to form. And that's it for today. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Let's start a movement of understanding one conversation at a time. Together we can create a world where judgment takes a backseat to empathy. This is the Bad Influence Podcast with your host, yours truly, Bjordan Banderas. Go out there, ask the hard questions, and remember, it's easy to judge, but it's far more powerful to understand. And I'll catch you in the next episode, and have a great day.